I tried to introduce Sesame Street's pinball counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Do 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 do. Yeah, they were not interested.
Classic. Well, I mean, they have no frame of reference for it either.
They also have, but listen, this is good stuff, guys. Trust me. Says me. Trust me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Look at you.
I mean, I was singing a song and I was like, wait, I can play it. And they're in the pool and they're looking at it, but they're like, yeah, I guess that's okay.
I mean, you also, so you did not say before that you were trying to use that to compete with the pool.
My bad.
Right.
I'm the problem there.
Yeah.
That's on
you disappointed yourself. You played yourself, ma'am. You played yourself.
Guess what? I played myself.
You expected, what did you expect them to do? Get out of the pool and dance? Wait.
No.
I'd like to stop what we're doing right now and address this magical song you've just brought to us.
In a perfect world, they dance in the pool like, this is my jam. Do-do-do-doop, doop, do-do-doop.
In a perfect world. That's your version of a perfect world.
It gets down.
That song does get down.
If you've ever heard that song, Sesame Street Pinball Counting, it is...
You really thought they were going to stop what they were doing in the pool and be like, thank you for bringing this manna from heaven to us, this magical tone to our ears.
Beautiful music, Auntie.
I can't. Wrong. I just have to stop what I'm doing right now and listen to this.
Wrong.
Let's just give this a moment. Let's let it play out.
Right. I mean, and out of
magical, ma'am, bravissimo.
So to set the story up, I have our 3 kids, and then we have my sister's kids, the twins, and there's one extrovert and one introvert, and so really out of the 2, there's only one that's even listening actively. And even she don't care.
Wow. See, yeah, you played yourself, man.
I did. I played myself.
You played yourself.
That was on me. That was my bad.
That's on you, though.
Still a classic song, though.
Absolutely.
We can all agree. Boom.
Welcome to the Hallspace podcast. It's about connections. I'm your host, Dr. Rich Hall, and this is a weekly conversation about whatever and however I see to connect things. For people who want to connect, chat, and learn a thing or two about a thing or two. Without further ado, let's start the show. All right. Here we are.
Here we are again.
What is this, episode 6?
Episode 6.
Yes.
Welcome back.
And we have some people we want to shout out this episode. We want to open with the shout outs.
We do absolutely want to make specific shout outs to those who've been listening.
Yes.
Thank you for all of our listeners, first of all. Anyone that's listening to any of our episodes.
Anyone willing to sit down with us at this fake dinner party, this internet dinner party, listen to the whole thing as we just rant on.
Or even a part of it. We're fine with that.
Yeah. Feel free to go back to the buffet.
Yes.
And see what they got over there. But we're going to keep talking and making jokes over at this table. So if you're at the fun table,
come join us.
Right. Feel free to jump in. So I want to shout out my friend Christopher Reese, who sang at our wedding.
Chris Reese.
Performer in that band.
Yes.
So he performs in that band.
And they perform around the city, and they had a recent performance not too long ago. But if you look those guys up, DATBAND, Dat Band.
There will be a link in the comments.
Yes, there will also be a link in the show notes. They perform. They're great. We went to the restaurant they were performing at.
Jeff Ruby's.
On our anniversary.
Last anniversary. Was that last year?
That was last year.
Oh, that was last year's anniversary.
Before the COVID. It was.
Before COVID. Interesting that we're coming around on another anniversary.
It is. What year is it? This is a test.
This is I only know the answer because we just had a discussion about it
earlier
several hours ago. So this is our 13th wedding anniversary.
It is our 13th wedding anniversary. And interestingly enough, I was putting everything on our calendar because so many things are coming up in the next few weeks that I put down anniversary on a calendar and I'm like, what year is it? I don't know. And then I came upstairs to ask you, and you're like, well, I didn't know it was going to be a test.
I did not know there would be math. I was not warned.
And so we both looked it up, and it's like, oh, this is our 13th year. And then I said, Yeah, but how many years have we been together?
Yes, we have been involved for 22 years.
Dating for involved.
I mean, I'm. Oh, so you're counting from the first date? Okay, I see. In my head, it's like, well, we've known each other for like 30.
Don't you all lives matter me?
Don't all lives matter you? Okay, 22 years.
Don't you comment
22 years? No,
22
Ms. Haddish, I would never. 22 years.
22 years.
Yeah.
So we started dating. We were both 20 and 21 years old.
Right.
In college. So yes.
Through all the ups and the downs.
All the
it's
ups
been 22
and the
years.
Downs and all the beautiful things.
Right.
And children and stuff. Yes.
Right. So yes, we've got some history, and Chris Reese was here. He's been my friend for that entire time. Well, no,
you guys met at work.
We met at work, so that would have been
before that.
Yeah. So when we got together in '98, I wasn't working at St. Joe's. I didn't start working there until 2002 maybe.
2002. Yeah. Yep.
And I actually literally, this is another random thing. I found the piece of paper where I wrote down, new guy Chris is going to start working here next week.
Yeah.
He's going to be the social worker.
Right.
So I remember, so I must have been like taking notes in a meeting randomly because that's what I do to keep myself awake, and wrote down, the week before I met him. I wrote down the week before I met Laura.
Laura Beth.
Yeah.
We love her and Jeff, her husband.
Yes.
We
they're
love
great
Chris
friends.
and Stacy.
Yes, Chris and Stacy.
His wife.
Yes.
She's another one of my favorites.
Yes, we did not do the introductions.
I am so sorry. Who are you?
I realized that I'm just now realizing, like, hey, we're talking about people, we're talking about wives and stuff, and I never said lovely and capable wife. So at the beginning, we should always remember. I mean, come on, this is episode 6. When are we going to get it together?
When are we going to? Who are you?
I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing.
Say your
Obviously
name,
not a professional. I am Dr. Rich Hall, and I am the host of the Hallspace podcast. And my lovely and capable wife, who's co-hosting with me today.
I'm Nicole Hall.
Yes.
Welcome to
wife of 13 years almost in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
A week or so.
We had to use the calculator to get the math. So
right. But also in my life for 22 years. More, actually longer in my life.
Yeah.
I think that's what muddies it. It's like I've known you since, you said 92?
In 92, I was 15 and you were 16.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. So that band played at Club Trio Lounge on August 8th. I don't know when their next lineup is.
Check them out. They're really good.
They're available on Facebook at Dat Band Cincinnati. Really good band.
Pre-COVID, they performed a lot of different places.
A lot of wineries and brew houses and things like that.
Festivals. There was the one in the park that was awesome. We had a great time there.
So they're great. They're a great band. They do a lot of funk and
they do. And he's a great guy.
Hits. He's a great singer.
He is.
He sang "Let's Stay Together" at our wedding.
He did.
Yeah, and so far it's proven to be true. So
I'll agree. Yep.
So thanks to him for blessing our wedding with his smooth, velvety tones.
And he's been a good friend.
Good friend, I would say.
Very good friend.
I would say there was a time where I was just saying this. We were going through some stuff in our relationship, and he didn't know that he was giving me advice. At the time, I was like seeking advice from everyone, and he was one of the people whom gave me relationship advice without me ever telling him what I was going through at the time. So good friend whom I can always depend on for good advice. And
he helped save her.
He helped save. All right, this was way before marriage.
Yeah. Okay.
But he did help. He was one of the people who was instrumental in me thinking.
Yeah.
So maybe I should stick with this lady. She might not be so bad.
You stuck with me now.
Yeah, I guess so. And then other shout out to Natalie Terry.
Hey, Natalie.
That's my cousin.
And her husband, Roger.
And they're in West Virginia.
We love you guys.
Yes, they're in Charleston, West Virginia, an avid listener. So one of the reasons I shouted out Chris is because he came to mind first, because he always texts me to say he's listening to the episodes.
Thank you so much.
And he'll be in between the episodes, like texting me as if I'm actually in the conversation with him. So we record these on Sundays, usually at 6. We're a little late today.
Them Sunday night.
And then I try to post them Sunday night so that I can just get it off my plate, so I can, walk into Monday without having this.
the week, yeah.
Right. Having this thing hanging over my head. So they're usually available Monday morning. And so usually a couple days into it, I get the text messages from him, and I love it. So I'm not in any way downing it, but it's also like he's texting me responses to things I said 3 days ago. And so I'm like, what is he talking? Oh, okay. Yes, I agree. I see. I think I appreciate that you agree with my points that I made 2 days ago.
Absolutely.
But I appreciate it. Yeah.
We love receiving messages for anyone.
Yes.
I received a message from Natalie from one of our earlier episodes.
Yes.
And she was speaking about, being the wife, being the mom, being the teacher, being all the things, and feeling like you're not great at all of it at the same time. Like something, spinning plates, man.
So many spinning plates.
And I feel like there are so many of us that feel that way.
Yes.
And a shout out to her. I love receiving messages for people who are listening, and it's great to hear whatever perspective you have on what we're talking about.
Right. That's why we're doing it. It is a conversation. We discussed how it's sort of, for us, it's a two-way, but for you, it's a one-way conversation. Yeah. But we do appreciate the contributions that are made. Like they both made some musical suggestions to us. Yeah. Chris told me to listen to PJ Morton.
Okay.
I am blanking on who Natalie told me to listen to right now.
Oh, she did. She actually told you to listen to Toby.
What's his name?
Oh,
try Jesus, but don't try me.
But don't try me.
Because I got hands.
Try
that guy.
Jesus, but don't try me.
Which is Nicole's anthem now.
Listen.
Hey.
Okay.
Hey.
All right.
I noticed how you didn't give honor to God, who is the head of your life in this.
Sorry. I'm first giving honor to God, who is the head of my life. Listen, I love the Lord. Okay. But also don't try me. Try me.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I mean, there's only so many of those Karen videos that you'd be like, listen, if you snatch something from my kids, we don't have a problem.
Well,
okay.
All right. So shout out to Chris.
Shout out to
and
Chris,
Natalie. Our most avid listeners who are also sending us so many pointers and feedback, and we do appreciate it because it shows people are listening and that somebody cares out there in the void. I would do this. As I've said before, I'm only doing things to entertain me. So this is just a creative endeavor that Richie has thrown both feet into and just dove in.
This is for us. We have a great time doing it, and it spins off so many conversations between the two of us, basically, and we enjoy it so much.
But we're glad other people are listening. Like we do this if no one was listening, obviously.
But we love that you guys are listening.
And paying attention.
Yeah, and so we want to also do a special shout out to my cousin Kaya.
Right.
Love her.
Yes.
She actually started her podcast a while back. And if you are looking for her on Facebook, it's Speak Kaya. But her podcast is Kaya Speaks.
Yes, and a link will be in the show notes.
It will also be in the show notes.
Always giving you more information in the show notes.
She's also an avid listener.
Yes.
And she sent me a message a while back to ask me to listen to her podcast. And I was kind of in the middle of the kids and all this other kind of stuff. But once I listened to it, I was in. I listened to the first episode, and then everything was back to back. You know how you ever find a show and you're like, okay, I got to get to the end of this season and listen to everything. And it is incredibly insightful. It is incredibly personal, and it is incredibly thought-provoking. There are so many things that, I did the same thing that, some of our listeners have done. When I started listening to her show, I sent her a bunch of messages like, oh, yes. What happened to the church mothers? Like, what is this? But yes, if you have not checked her out, please check her out. It is a very beautiful personal diary. And she is also an avid listener, and she is a fan. And we love you so much, Kaya, for listening.
Yes.
And we appreciate, the support. I mean, the moment she found out that we were doing this and that, we were going to post about it, she's like, can I post about it now? And she, like, immediately, Yeah.
So we appreciate that when people share.
We do. Yes. And for those who don't know, like, Kaya is my cousin. And
how would anyone know? Who's this person you're talking about?
For all of these 3 listeners, okay?
Right. For the 3 listeners, 2 of which she won't know that Nicole has cousins. One of them is named Kaya.
What?
Right. Chris is a white guy. Natalie's black. It's like Kaya's black. I guess we should tell you that. Do you need qualifiers or identifiers?
We don't need qualifiers.
I mean, they might.
Because we have more than one white friend.
Do we know that? We know we wouldn't have one. Okay, I'm sorry. I was answering the question of we know we have more than one white listener. But we know we have at least one white listener. We have multiple white friends. Being black in America.
Our white listeners.
Shout out to our white listeners just as much as our black. Some of these references you're not going to get.
And our people of color listeners.
Right. We all listeners matter. But Black listeners,
they really do.
We are really talking to you.
Yeah, there are going to be some references.
There's some definite inside baseball.
There are some definite.
As I said, first episode, a lot of inside jokes. Definitely. We are full of them.
Well, and the interesting thing about us is I have asked multiple times after a podcast, are you going to explain that reference?
And I'm like, no. I am not going to re-record an episode to explain our reference.
I don't necessarily need you to re-record. I'm just saying at the top of the next episode, you want to explain what a
you want me to do
Buffett
a lot
is?
So the Hallspace podcast would like to take this moment to acknowledge that in the previous episode, some references might not have been available to you. So when Rich Hall says Buffett, he is merely mispronouncing the word for his own amusement.
Can we talk about Richie Hall and what you do with words on purpose?
Okay, so Rich Hall loves the English language, loves the sound of it, loves how things sound in my tongue. So I just like to play with language. I take a lot of risks. There are times where, like, I want to be this weird cadence, like Jeff Goldblum-ish kind of figure where you're like, where is he going with this sentence?
He sounds like jazz.
Yeah, I want my words to sound like jazz. Like, I literally said this to her a couple nights ago. So I want what I'm saying. I don't want you to know where I'm going. So am I going to go high? Am I going to go low? Am I going to zig off that way?
You're up here. I need you down here.
I'm going to be both up here and down here, depending on where I want this.
Where's he going?
Yeah, I want you to be like, what just happened in that sentence? And ideally, it's helped because as a presenter and a teacher, it helps me to make my points in a way that the students remain engaged.
They pay attention and remember it.
But I do know that in a normal conversation, you're not supposed to do it nearly as much as I do. But I'm going to mispronounce a word. Like, I'm not going to Kroger, I'm going to Crozier. I went to Samuel Club today, Samuel's Clubhouse.
Buffet.
Buffett is buffet. So there are going to be a lot of things you're going to wonder later, like, what was he saying? And it's literally, there's a normal word for it. I've chosen to use a different word or mispronounce it.
So Chipotle is... Chipotle. I don't think any of us, including your mom and sister, we don't ever say Chipotle.
Chipotle?
Chipotle. Right. Facebook is Fachebu. I spent a lot of time saying Fachebu because I was so amused by it.
Right. It's amusing to miss. So some of what comedy is surprise. It's like you're going through this sentence and you're expecting someone to say one thing and then they say another.
Right.
So for me, it's like the idea, if I zig or I zag, it's just, once again, I'm amusing myself. Yeah. So other people can listen to it. And I understand that sometimes it can be a little insufferable to listen to this person who can't just give you a straight conversation.
So you're not going to say Target, you're going to say Target?
Target. Why would I say Target? Why? Who? You know what it is. So we all know what's like the dry white bread way of saying things.
Do we know?
We all know. You should. But if you're rolling with me, you're going to get words all over the place. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go there. Yes. Zing, zang, zoom. Like, you never know.
You never know.
You never know. And it makes it more interesting. This conversation is already way more interesting than it would have been had I just said things in a dry and even tone. The Hallspace podcast would like to apologize for any mispronunciations. We do not mean to butcher the English language. I'm going to start giving disclaimers.
But you don't have to, because you're going to do it.
Because I'm going to do it, yeah. And I'm not even going to remember.
No, you're not. And you're going to put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllables.
That's my favorite joke to make. The emphasis on the wrong syllables.
Putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable.
The Hallspace podcast would like to say that they're actually saying emphasis on the wrong syllable. But if I spend all my time doing that's like now I got to really double speak. I'm already double speaking. I'm already speaking the thing I want to say and thinking about how to make it more interesting.
Right.
I can't then be going back like I need to make sure that I've clearly communicated my point. Particularly not in this setting.
Not in this setting when we're just having fun.
We're just jazzing.
You're not. I mean, we talk about this all the time about levels of who you are and how much you expose to other people. And typically we speak about being a 1 to 10, right?
Mm-hmm. And you can't give everybody 10.
You can't. So we're 10s at home, right?
Well,
for the most part,
we are allowed to get to 10.
We're allowed to get to 10.
We are not. Nobody's in 10 all the time.
I don't want
burn
your
yourself
10 all
out.
the time.
You don't want my 10 all the time.
I do not.
I don't exactly want your 10 all the time. Right. I love you, but hey, turn it down.
Yeah.
I'm trying to go to sleep. Right.
There's so many things I can say to that, but yes. Yes. Yeah. Right. But at work, what are you?
At work, I'm barely a 5. That's been the interesting thing. So I will talk about that just a little bit. I've gone into work for the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that has been weird going back into the office and interacting with the people is at home, I'm allowed to remain in a low power state. What?
The people.
Oh, yeah. Another in-joke is Richie says the word the all the time.
In front of stuff.
So this goes back to when I was teaching a class. The first class that I taught independently, I got to choose the book. So we were learning about multicultural health psychology as opposed to just regular health psychology because I found a book that was psychology from a multicultural perspective. So Rich Hall was like, yeah, you're going to have to think about that as you think about health psychology. And so in my reviews from the students, I got one that said, and I think I threw the reviews out when I was cleaning my office, but I did photograph the review itself that said, the photograph. I didn't do it because I was trying to clearly communicate, but normally I'd say photograph.
I heard that in my head. So
yes, she's heard me say it so often. She thinks that. So anyway, I photographed the review that said he clearly has an agenda, which, yeah, I do. I'm going to make you think about multiculturalism. And he put the in front of everything, which I thought was unprofessional.
Disturbed about that.
Right. Which I'm like, yeah. So you may notice that every podcast that drops, I don't just call the episode whatever it is. It's called I don't know what this one's going to be called. The first one was the pilot, but then the second one was called Evolving Together, but then we realized the pattern should be the thes. Yeah. And so now it's called the Together Evolution. Yeah. And so now every time I drop a podcast, the is going to be in front of it because the in-joke for me that's so funny is the putting the in front of everything. Because I was teaching health psychology, so I was calling it the cancer and the HIV. I was calling it the HIV when it's the HIV. But I mean, come on, do you want your so today, class, we will be discussing HIV. Or do you want, hey, a lot of people are getting the HIV. Where's it coming from? How are they getting it? What health mistakes were made in prevention and education around the HIV? Like, you're now more interested than you would have been in.
You are.
Had I been talking about tertiary prevention methods for HIV.
See, you just said tertiary and I blanked out. But if you think about, if you've ever seen that there's an episode of Scrubs where they have a HIV dance.
They have a whole dance for the HIV.
They have a whole dance.
Yeah, they said that should come with a dance. Then they start singing and dancing. The HIV, what? The HIV, what? The HIV, what? The HIV. Yeah. So
you'll never forget it.
I mean, so having consumed so much media, I do things that are based on my history as a consumer of pop culture and what amuses me, and I digest it and I try to put it out in the world for you people to laugh.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome. She does not always find it funny. I remember, so if we go back to somewhere in that 22 years, for the pre-marriage Nicole, there were quite a few moments where we were having an argument and I was being a guy about it and I didn't want her to be upset. So I tried to go straight to humor to alleviate the burden on me to have to change my behavior long term. Now, she didn't necessarily articulate that was why I was upsetting her, but we now know after, years of being together, that was what was happening. She wanted me to acknowledge and validate her feelings, and being a young man in my 20s, that's not what we did. Instead, I'm going to try to make you laugh or change the mood or change the setting. And she was definitely very quick to say, "You're not funny, Rich Hall." And I'd be like, "But I am funny. Any other time I'm funny, but right now while you're upset with me, not funny?
Right now you not funny though.
Are you sure? I'm going to make more jokes. But what if more jokes, if I pile on, will that ever? It did not. It never worked.
It never worked.
It never worked.
Nope.
The Hallspace podcast would like to tell young men in the audience that when your girl, wife, significant other is upset, please do not make jokes at her expense. Instead, ask what is wrong. Apologize. Make sure that you validate her feelings in some way."
Boom. Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
This episode's going to be called The Disclaimers. That's what it's going to be called.
There are multiple disclaimers.
There are going to be multiple disclaimers. Apparently, after episode 5, we have to start explaining why the episodes work the way they do. Now that we know we have an audience.
I just think that it's important for people to know.
She genuinely wants me to explain every time. Like, do you want to tell people why you did that? And I'm like, no, it's more funny. There
are some things that are just a part of the experience, right? So one of the things that Kaya sent me when she listened to one of our episodes was, "No, you didn't Ike Turner him and say, 'If you die on me, I'll kill you.'" Right. We're not going to explain that. If you haven't seen What's Love Got to Do with It.
Right. That's an in-joke. We've been using that since we saw that movie years ago, decades ago at this point. It was always, in part because Nicole has a lot of illnesses. And we've been to the hospital multiple times in this relationship.
You said to me,
that was when Jessica almost killed you?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So.
Tell the story.
Okay, so Jessica Carter, love her. She is
former coworker when you worked at Cincinnati Bell.
She's always been a big sister to me. I love her so much.
Mm-hmm.
We worked at Cincinnati Bell together years and years ago, and we had been eating like these. It was Christmas time, and we had been eating these truffles all day.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had been getting chocolate wasted. It was ridiculous. And so every time she went to the bathroom, the secretary at the front desk, she grabbed a truffle for both of us. And she knew I was allergic to peanut butter, but all the truffles had chocolate in them, right?
But some had
some
peanut
of them
butter.
had peanut butter.
Peanut butter, usually always a gold or orange packaging.
The packaging was the same, but if you unwrapped it and then read it, okay, he's saying this because why didn't I read the packaging?
Because she opened it and swallowed it like a snake, just chugged that thing into her throat.
We had been eating chocolate truffles
and she didn't look at a
day.
single one. She was just opening wrappers and chugging them.
I chugged it. I put it in my mouth.
And she immediately had a reaction. Immediate regret.
I did.
So quick.
Yes,
She had to be transported by ambulance.
I started to die.
To the hospital.
Yes. The ambulance came. And
her body started attacking itself.
My body started attacking itself, and I was vomiting.
Because it thought it had a toxin in it.
Oh, yeah. No, and I'm freaking out.
Called peanuts.
Making it worse. I'm deathly allergic to peanuts.
Deathly.
Just like raw. Yes.
I was at work, living my life.
Yes. And
making the money.
I called and...
Were we married?
You know,
Cincinnati Bell. I don't think we were married at Cincinnati Bell.
I don't think we were. We hadn't had our wedding yet. Maybe we were engaged.
Yeah.
We were engaged for 2 years before we got married. So I don't know what year that was.
I feel like, because I feel like post-marriage, at some point you left Cincinnati Bell.
We hadn't married yet because we invited all of those guys to our wedding and they came.
Yeah.
So we get to the hospital, and not only does he say, "What happened, Jessica? You tried to kill my wife?"
Yeah, so you tried to kill my wife, huh? So wait, no, stop. This is how that happened. She calls and she says, "Richie," and I'm like, "Hey, Jessica, what's going on?" She's like, "Oh my God, the truffles," and she's like so flustered,
she's
like, "And the truffles, and we've been eating them all day, and then Nikki ate one, and it had Richie, I'm sorry, it had peanuts in it." And I'm like, "Wait, what? Jessica, did you try to kill my wife?"
Sir, it was so...
Because that's what it's like to be friends with me. I'm going to go for the joke before I recognize the severity of the situation. Because that's my maladaptive coping skill.
You're a ridiculous person.
Yeah. So I she's in the hospital freaking out, hoping my wife isn't dying. She's left her work day to transport my wife.
She's in the
to
front
the hospital
seat of the ambulance with
calling me. Yeah.
She's crying.
And I'm like, "Did you just try to kill my wife? Did you try to murder Nicole?" Wow. And
she's still friends with me, guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, she didn't have to be friends with me to be friends with you. She's got to overlook my flaws.
Listen, no, that's not true.
Yeah, that's true. You might leave a friendship on the basis of the significant other. It's happened.
If we not friends together, we not friends.
Anyway,
that's a whole nother episode.
Then we get to the hospital, and I come in and I look at Nicole in the bed wearing the mask. She's wearing the oxygen because she needs it, and they got an IV in her to make sure that she doesn't, her body doesn't continue to react, and she's on a steroid at this point. Yeah, and I sit down next to her and I say, "If you die on me, I'll kill you."
I feel like one of the nurses heard you and was like, "Oh my God."
Yeah. And that's when they escort me out and they're like, "Are you safe at home?" Right. Well, what they don't know is it's a joke. So Nicole knows me well enough to know that if I'm in a hospital, I'm going to be making jokes.
I'm laughing at the nurses.
She's trying not to laugh with the oxygen on her face. I will not kill my wife. I'm never physically harmed. I'm largely a teddy bear.
Well, and I think the joke is if either one of us dies, I think people will question if I killed you first.
Right. The joke has always been it's more likely that Nicole would kill me than for me to ever kill Nicole.
I watch a lot of murder shows.
She watches a lot. I go to sleep to murder every night. Have we talked about this on the show? I don't even know. We don't want to repeat these jokes, but Nicole goes to sleep to murder. It's either Golden Girls or murder, and murder's been winning out for the last couple years.
We've been talking about Golden Girls, falling asleep to Golden Girls, right?
Yeah.
But yes, I am a true crime fanatic. I listen to all of the true crime podcasts.
Yes.
Recently, Laura Beth just started getting into it, so I'm like, yes, join us.
Right.
But yes,
She keeps making references to Red Handed podcast. I don't even listen. Here's the thing with me and podcasts, ladies and gentlemen. I probably don't listen to many podcasts. I listen to Deezus and Mero and Ezra Klein now because I think he's interesting. And Fake Doctors, Real Friends, which is the Scrubs podcast. I've been listening to that.
That's a good one.
And Questlove Supreme. I listen to that because of a lot of 90s music makers are on that. And Fonte is on that, as we said.
Of course.
Fonte, my man crush.
Yep.
I'm a stand for Fonte.
Yeah.
So I don't listen to a lot of other podcasts. Nicole, on the other hand, listens to like 18 podcasts.
I love true crime podcasts.
All of the true crime podcasts.
I am a big fan of Red Handed Podcast. Those two ladies are just phenomenal.
She's constantly making references to them. Like, who are these ladies?
I do. I love them. If you haven't checked them out and you're into true crime.
They're her friends that she never actually speaks to, but she listens to them.
Now they have Spooky Bitch. I excuse the language. Sweatshirts and
salty.
I know. It's
salty language on the podcast today. Gets the people going. Right.
I'm a big fan of them. What got me started into true crime was Crime Junkies. But then there was some controversy with...
Yeah. They were stealing bits.
They were taking...
plagiarizing whole cloth of other people's stuff.
Yeah. And so hey,
you gotta get that content out.
Yeah, if you put the content out, it's fine. But you got to acknowledge where you got it from.
Cite your sources, ladies and gentlemen. The Hallspace podcast, please promotes that you cite your sources online and otherwise.
Please.
Please do not take anyone else's work as your own.
Right. So anything that we've said comes from somewhere else, we will absolutely try to put it in the show notes.
Yes.
And there are going to be so many quips from multiple movies.
Well, I'm not going to give my movie and TV references. You just got to know those because I'm not going to turn into tvtropes.com over here.
Those are one-liners at the best.
Yeah.
Right?
And if you know them, they're funny. If not, you're like, what's this dude talking about?
What do they even mean?
I have learned. So I work at a university, so we have a lot of international students. And I have learned over the years that the international students that are comfortable enough telling me will say, I don't get half your references because you're making a lot of what I assume are American references. And I'm not just making American references. Like people who grew up within my era will get them, but I'm making a lot of like black cinema.
You're making African American.
Black cinema.
Black South kind of.
Yeah. If you watched
Midwest.
Television and movies between 1980 to 2007.
Yeah.
Ish references. I mean, there's some later stuff, but once we get into the Drake era, what are we even talking about?
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of Sherman Showcase references, another show that I love.
Absolutely.
Because that show is magnificent, along with Southside.
We will have a podcast.
We will do a whole show on those two shows. Particularly, I kind of want to wait till they come back.
Okay.
So that we can be like, hey, start watching the show. But when is any entertainment coming back in the age of COVID? So we'll probably get bored a month in and say, let's go ahead and do the Sherman Showcase podcast. Oh, also Sherman Showcase has Diallo Riddle, who is my doppelganger.
Yeah.
Thank you, Diallo Riddle. I'm going to call him a friend of the show, even though I've never met him. And he is a tall, light-skinned gentleman with a lot of hair on his head, like myself. So... if you're ever wondering what Rich Hall looks like except he wears glasses. Diallo Riddle, my famous doppelganger with glasses. And when you see him, you'll be like, that looks like Rich.
Well, and you know what we'll do is...
We'll draw a picture of him in the show notes.
We'll put him in we'll have our Instagram and we'll post pics of just stuff. Yeah.
Sure.
I would specifically ask that you don't take a picture of my... Cup City, as you call it.
You know what? I genuinely thought about taking a picture of your Cup City. Like, in case anyone was wondering what he was talking about in episode 2, this is Cup City.
This is what Cup City looks like.
But out of respect for you and family business, because another thing about black folks is we don't tell family business.
There's some things
that's family business. So I'm not going to tell on you about that.
We'll talk to you about, but we're not trying to show that out.
Yeah.
No, but I think the cool thing about this time that we're in is that there's so much entertainment in spite of what we're, that the fact that we can't go anywhere or do anything. And so Richie Vaughn has found a thread that he was incredibly amused by.
And we'll talk about that after we take a break. So there's a thread on Twitter that we'll talk about. in just a moment after we return from our break.
We'll see you soon.
Ladies and gentlemen,
we were going to talk about the feed that you found last night that you were so amused by.
I was wildly amused.
Yeah.
It was a feed on Twitter, and the link to it will be in our show notes. But the Penny, the Petty Pest at Pineapple GC1 on Twitter, her feed, her question was, ladies, what's the most ghetto experience you've ever had with getting your hair done? And when I tell you that these experiences were far beyond anything I could say I'd ever experienced, and I've had some interesting experiences with barbers. I mean, you know, you're in the barber community long enough. Like I've had barbers who, you know, step away to go toke a little bit in the car. I had a barber once need to go. He said somebody's driving up and down. I was in there late one night, and he got really like spooked by somebody he thought was driving up and down the street. Now, also the street where this barbershop was, there were many, I will call them streetwalkers, prostitutes, as well as drug dealers on this street. And for the most part, he was cool with a lot of them. But this night in particular, he was very paranoid. He did smell of marijuana that night. And so he was like, let me go get my burner from the car. And I'm like, wait, and I can't stop him from getting his burner from the car. I also want him to finish my cut. So I just got to wait for him to go to the car, bring this pistol in. And he had like this shiny cowboy looking pistol. Like it was like silver.
For like those silver. Who don't know what a burner is.
A burner is another word for, that's black for gun.
A throwaway gun.
Yeah. But he had to go get his pistol out the car so he'd feel safe with me in the barbershop at like 9 at night on a Thursday.
You're going to be shooting and cutting my hair?
Right. Because that's like, well, how's this going to go? Like, I'm hoping you win this gunfight because I need to finish this cut. You only got me halfway done, bruh.
Bruh, to shake me up.
And also, I'm not prepared for a gunfight. Did you bring one for me? Because I didn't know we'd be shooting today.
Would you know what to do?
I mean, I know how to fire a gun, but I don't want to if I don't gotta.
Not for a haircut.
Not for a haircut, my guy. So I've had many experiences. Once ended up in in the basement of a building that was kind of abandoned. It wasn't abandoned, but it had not been serviced as a building in several years. And the barber's friend was opening a barbershop, but the barbershop wasn't ready yet. So my barber had left his shop. But he was still going to give me a cut. That was back when I had a barber named Fuzzy. Interesting thing about the black community is we don't like changing barbers a lot. So we will follow you where you're going. If we like you, if we rock with you, we're going to follow you wherever, even if it means coming to your house to get a cut. Because
you line me up good.
You line me up good. And I ain't trying to risk it out here. I ain't trying to risk my hairline out here. Right?
This is temporary.
We'll just work through this, right? I'll go where you go, my guy. Tell me where we gonna be. So I ended up in like this basement of what was essentially up until like a week before had been an abandoned building that was going to eventually be a barber shop. Getting my hair cut. I mean, you know, there was nothing in the immediate environment that I was like, this is a deal breaker. But it was just so weird walking into like you're walking past like junk and things that have been stored for God knows how long, and going down to this dank basement to get your hair cut. Yeah. And I remember thinking, okay, this is weird. And I feel like I twittered about it at the time, way back when.
Back when you twittered?
Yeah, back when I twittered regularly. I've only had like 3 barbers: Porky, Fuzzy, I'm Les.
Yeah.
And Les is my current barber, but I haven't seen him since like February, thanks to the COVID.
We haven't seen anybody since February.
Right. There's many people in our lives who were regular characters in this ongoing drama that is our lives that we have not seen due to COVID-19. Yep. So Les sends me regular like daily updates via the Cut app. telling me when he's available.
Yep.
And when he's now taking mobile orders, so he's finally come to the 21st century, and I can pay him via phone. But so Les is my fourth barber. There's one in between who I'm really blanking on that I used to see on the east side. But yeah, I've only had four regular barbers. Like occasionally I've tried to cut with someone else, but I never stick with. Usually if I'm your guy, I rock with you. Now, if you do something like disappear off the grid for a while, then I'll try someone else. And if I find someone I like, Les, he's a young guy. He's an artisan.
He's good.
I need my barber to be an artisan. Anyone can give you a haircut.
Right.
But an artisan, you walk away feeling like, okay, I look good. I know I look good. And I'm getting older. Gentlemen, for those of us out here who are getting older and are worried about the hairlines, not everybody. Some people see the hairline going and they just give up. But for people like me who are noticing the hairline inch back little by little, you want somebody who's going to be respectful. I was talking to my Uncle Jeff, and he was like, yeah, I was like making sure the barber I got, like I saw he cut young guys' heads. Then when I saw he got to an older guy, he gave it a little bit more here or there so that, the guy walked away feeling good. And I was like, he could be my barber. Funny thing about my Uncle Jeff, right now, he has also not been to his barber, so he and I look very much alike right now. We both look like mountain men. We look like brothers.
Weird.
It's so weird to my wife that she was like weirded. She was like, this genuinely weirds me out seeing a picture of him.
So he posted a picture because Tammy, his wife, was like, he posted and said, you look like Richie.
Yeah. And so he sent me a picture of himself, and I was like, you do look like me.
I did a side-by-side, and it was...
Yeah, we'll put the side-by-side on the show notes.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird to have a doppelganger out there. Another doppelganger. My Uncle Jeff Wiggins.
Halls look alike.
Wiggins Halls look alike. My family members, we all look a lot alike. I have a large family. I come from a family of... both my parents are one of 10 siblings.
Yes.
So, very large family. Get-togethers are huge affairs where you have to, remember a million people's names.
Yep.
It was funny to watch my wife sort of stumble through that in the early days. I still, I'd be like, yeah, okay, so I don't know any of, the second-generation cousins' names for real.
Yeah.
The only reason I know many of them is because they're now on Facebook. So it's like, oh, yeah, Gabby and...
and Josh.
and Josh
Andrew.
and Destiny and Danielle. And it's like, I know them because they're on Facebook now, but, the ones who aren't my Facebook friends, I don't know who they are. I'm sorry. I love you all though.
Many.
I'm rooting for you as a person in my bloodline, but there are so many of us that it's hard to remember. And if you ask me to run them all down, I'm like, so my uncles are, on my dad's side. I'll do that one day. I'll do you guys my histogram and tell you who all's in my family, but that's not for today.
Your mom has 10 siblings.
Mom is one of 10. Dad is one of 10, and that's not including some who are not direct siblings, but who are cousins who were raised with my dad. So there's 3 of those in the bloodline that I have always called uncles, but they are not officially uncles.
Yep.
Like my Aunt Kay, it took me many years to find out that she was not an aunt. She's actually a cousin. But because she was always my mother's age, I consider her to be an aunt, and I still have to call her the designation of aunt.
Yeah.
Right. In the Black family, there are often a lot of people who are adults whom they are called by the designee aunt or uncle. Because
out of respect.
They are not just a regular person off the street to you. They have some affiliation with you.
You will not call them by their first name.
Yeah, and you are not allowed to call them by their first name.
You won't call any adult by their first name.
Right. And you don't necessarily have to call them Mr. or Mrs., but you definitely need to respect them. And the title is aunt or uncle. Yeah. That's how it works in my family, and that's how it works in many, many Black families. So
our family, you were definitely saying Mr. or Miss.
Right. So, back to the thread about the most ghetto experiences people have had, and I just loved this thread because it did make me feel at home.
It did.
And my wife has had her own experiences with hair care. Definitely getting braided and being gone all day while watching Nigerian movies.
Are you
in someone's living room? Having her hair braided by someone she did not intend to pay to get her hair braided because her hairdresser has to step away for a moment.
Listen, I have had so many hair braiders, and typically they're from, another country, and there's a number of them. And if you remember getting your hair braided, the small braids, the micro braids, it takes a long time.
Yep.
And so sometimes they'll have 2 people, 3 people braiding your hair. They're going off to Taco Bell and coming back.
Yep.
They're, a couple of them would watch African movies, and they would be like...
Nollywood movies.
Yes, they would be like soap operas. And listen.
She does not speak Yoruba or...
At all.
French or any of the languages that the Nigerians speak.
Big fan, though.
But she was a big fan of the films.
Big fan.
Films. Big fan of the films.
films.
Yeah.
So with a majority of them, with a couple of the braiders, like my favorite is Bintu on the West Side. She would tell me what was going on if it was in French. And so she would say, okay, so this guy, if you couldn't understand what was going on, she would explain it. And she watched a lot of Oprah. She was a big fan. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I've had a lot of those experiences. My probably worst experience or weird experience was I had a girl who used to do great sew-ins a number of years ago. Followed her down to downtown in the middle of
downtown.
Gonna
go downtown.
Yeah, she was off of Lynn Street. If you're from Cincinnati,
you
know. Yeah, that's a whole nother downtown. Yeah. She wasn't doing that.
I would hope not.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Making my way downtown. There we go. That one's more appropriate.
Going fast.
Yeah.
Who sings it? A bunch of white girls.
White girl number 5. Pop white girl singer number 5. Folk white girl singer number 5?
I don't know.
I don't know her name individually.
Song, yeah. I don't know your names individually.
Right.
Yeah, but down next to CK Beauty was a salon, and the girl I was following had a chair there. And for those who don't know how African American beauty salons work, you get a booth. So there's an owner of the building, and she has her own special booth where you get your hair done, but then there are specific stations, and I don't know if that works, how that works at other
It's similar to barbershops. Barbershops, okay. You get a booth. You pay for your booth rent.
You pay for your booth rent, right.
Yeah.
And so as long as those people bring in customers.
And so long as they can pay their booth rent.
They can pay their booth rent.
They don't have to bring in customers as long as they pay their booth rent. They pay
their booth rent, that's true.
If you find a way to pay your booth rent, you got a booth here.
Then we don't have any problems.
They also don't care if you're occasionally selling weed from your chair, so long as you don't bring no smoke.
Whatever you're doing.
Right.
But the owner of this salon.
Not that I would know. None of my barbers have ever sold weed. They just smoked it. I've never watched drug transactions happen while waiting for my lineup. Like, could we just move it? Sir. I am in this chair. I do not want to be complicit.
I think you need to do another disclaimer.
The Hallspace podcast does not condone the selling nor using of marijuana.
Thank you. And so.
But we also don't care if you decide to toke up.
Hey. Do what you feel is best.
Do you, player?
It's legal now.
Legal is a funny word. It is not legal for recreational use. It is currently medicinally illegal. There's a whole deep well we can get into with the legalization of marijuana.
It is. I mean,
fairly harmless. I'm not advocating the use of it. If you're into daily use, then I think you have a problem.
If it's edible, do you have a problem?
I mean, any mind-altering substance could be a bad idea.
If depending on your internal chemistry. Do you have a problem with that?
I mean, any mind-altering substance could be a bad idea. You never know what it's going to do to your chemistry, and you're technically dosing yourself. I mean, if we want to get into it, but also, do I personally care if people use marijuana? No. But also, not my children, but also,
Not your wife?
I mean, we got you this far. Why don't you just stick with what you know? Okay. You like the wine, right? Just stick with the wine. There's no need to bring THC into this.
So I used to go to this girl. She used to do gray hair. We got there, and I had only gone to her. I went to her once, and she was telling me, she said, I'm moving again. And I'm like, what is going on? And she said, girl, the owner of the salon's boyfriend came in. Not only did he punch her in the mouth and drag her through the store during office hours, right?
Right. I mean, between 9 and 5.
I use office hours lightly because beauty salons are typically open.
Black beauty salons, you might be getting your hair braided at 11
Saturday,
p.m.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I've driven past many a salon and seen a woman in there giving someone service.
Oh, yeah.
Like 10 at night. Like, wow, it is almost. I drove past it 1 a.m. once at a barbershop and saw guys in there getting cut. I'm like, wow.
They'll come in. They have special customers they'll come in early for, they'll stay late for. And the girl that used to do my hair, I had followed her a few places.
Yeah. And her boyfriend?
And
the shop owner, so not just a random girl with a chair.
The girl with the booth rent,
but the lady who's paying the rent for the building.
The lady who owns
whose name is on the building.
Got her mouth busted up. She needed her mouth wired shut, apparently.
Through the wire like Kanye West.
Busted her up in front of all of the customers, in front of all of the workers.
Tragic domestic violence.
Dragged her to the back. Police came, all this other kind of foolishness. This is, of course, word of mouth, so I don't know.
Yeah, this is like a decade ago.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Over a decade. That was college you, right?
Oh, yeah.
I remember that. That was college,
I haven't had a sew-in in so long.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was... Now I have an afro in her glorious...
Yeah. All for the natural hair. We're all on a natural hair journey in this house.
We are.
Yeah.
We are.
So, and then, as I recall, that was like, you didn't really follow her again after that.
I did not.
Because also, like, she gave you a number, but then the number was not useful after like a month.
Then she moved to Walnut Hills, which was even worse.
Yeah.
Ghetto would not recommend.
Yeah. And so it just kind of, after that, you let her go.
I did.
Those lovely sew-ins weren't worth the trouble, apparently.
They were not. I did find her again, though, because when you find somebody who does a good job at something, you find where they're at. And honestly, for her, you know that she's just trying to work. She's
just trying to make it.
She's trying to work.
She has bad choices in partners and buildings.
Licensed. She's got a job. She's just trying to find a building that she can do that job in. She doesn't want to do it out of her house. I get that, but I have had a lot of hair braiders. I'm an older lady now. I only have one hair braider that I would absolutely go to her house, and I love her. I know where she lives. If I ever decided, okay, so one of my passions is doing hair. I'm not great at it, but I love to learn how to do it right.
And she has a daughter who's young enough that she can experiment with. She loves experimenting with that little girl's hair.
I do. Victoria doesn't love it, but you know what? She'll learn. She'll
endure it because she loves spending time with her best friend.
You're so rude.
Yeah.
Yes, but she does. So I've learned how to do my own box braids and all that other kind of stuff. So I'm at the point where if I learn how to cornrow, I don't need to go to anybody else. That's the game right there.
That's the game.
That's it.
Game, set, match.
It.
Right.
Every time I braid my hair.
I'm going to learn box braids. Woo! Y'all ain't ready.
Every time I do my old hair, I tell Richie how much money he saved.
Yeah, and it is. I appreciate it. I definitely appreciate it. Not dropping 2 bands, 2 hundos on.
Yeah. But I think it's one of those things that, maybe I don't know about other communities, but in African American community, there's at least somebody in your family that knows how to braid. For me and the Slaughter cousins, my aunt used to do my hair. She used to do the relaxing and the things like that. And then my cousin, she would do like my sew-ins and the curls and stuff like that. But I'm in the process of learning how to be that and take care of my daughter's hair and stuff like that. But I've definitely had some experiences. But these experiences
take the cake.
Take the cake.
Take all the cake.
They take all of the cake.
Right. Elite Heathen said, in response to the thread about your most ghetto experience, said, my girl stopped braiding my hair because she got a call saying her husband was out with his baby mama. We drove around looking for him, and when she found him, she fought them both, then took us back to her house to finish like nothing happened. So they went riding, looking for this chick in the streets.
Beat her up.
And said, let me go ahead and finish.
Let me get back to this.
I think we're good.
So let me also say, oftentimes the girl that's doing your hair, if she's not your friend, she becomes your friend.
She better. Because y'all get close.
You spend a
lot of quality time together.
You spend a number of hours getting your hair
doing
done.
One particular thing.
During one specific thing.
Yeah.
You share during that time, right? Yeah. And so, I haven't had that experience with a hair braider, but I have definitely been with a girlfriend and we've had to roll up. First, giving honor to God, who is the head.
Hey, we don't necessarily would need to use this time to share any illicit stories about what our friends have done, because part of the reason that we are good friends with those people is we put some things in a vault.
That is true.
And we are not going to open the vault for this podcast and thus jeopidize those friendships, because we don't know between the two of us, neither of us know whether or not some statutes of limitations have run out. So we are not telling stories about that. But what we will do is make some more jokes about these people on the internet who've provided their stories. Like Nikki Star TV, who said, my hair braider's husband called from prison. When he heard my voice, he lost it. Told her to put me on the phone to confirm that I was that B word. Mid-braid, she hands me the phone. I chatted with him until he was convinced that I was a woman. Then they had phone sex. What?
Girl.
While she's doing her hair. Maybe she stopped. I'm going to hope you take your hands out my hair while you are phone sexing your boo.
Well, I guess the description of phone sexing's got to be determined there, right?
I mean, phone sex is any type of sexual language that you do over the phone. It does not have to involve any touching of thyself.
You're being very technical right now, but if you're braiding my hair,
I'm going to assume that no matter what you don't want to hear is her talking about what she's doing with her man.
Do not.
While he's in jail.
Not where you're touching me, you won't.
Right? It's going to feel weird. It's going to be weird.
It's weird.
It's going to be weird. You had to make it weird. How's it not weird?
You know what? It's super weird to even have you put him on the phone with me.
Right. Why am I talking to him?
Why am I talking to him?
Right.
Wait, did you say he was at jail?
He was in jail. That was a collect call from Clinton Correctional Facility.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Right. Right. That's what's happening in these streets.
That's what's happening. Apparently.
Yeah. Wait. Here's one from Flocka at Mashana. She was telling me about how her boyfriend was cheating with this old lady with a gold tooth. She couldn't get past the tooth. I don't know why. And she made me Facebook stalk the lady while she was doing my hair. And I feel like so many of these stories give me flashbacks to the olden days. Like I'm in my 20s remembering other illicit adventures that have been locked inside the vault.
But hey.
But these sound so at home. Like I know these people.
Look them up and see what they doing right now.
Right.
See if you can friend request them. And
Right. You read through her page. We didn't even have social media back then, but this sounds like stuff me and my friends would be doing.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
And God bless you if it's not familiar.
Right. For some of you, this may sound like an experience you've never had.
Yeah.
But for me and mine,
for us,
it is likely that this is adjacent to my young years where I was doing similar chicanery.
Definitely.
And no apologies. It's the past now. It's gone. But
it's above us now.
It's above us now.
It's above us now.
Yeah. Right. But so many good stories from our past of people who have themselves been good at their job, but they put you through the paces. Like that episode of Atlanta. I don't know if anybody out there watches the television show Atlanta. It's a
great show.
Donald Glover.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Glover. He has this show. It's done 2 seasons now. It's a great work. It's a very
fantastic,
absurdist, funny work.
It's on FX.
And in the second season, there's an episode where Paperboy, his in the show, it's Donald Glover's character, Ern, his cousin, Paperboy, needs a haircut, and his barber is fresh to death. But he takes him on a day-long adventure before he cuts his hair. He's driving him around places. Yep. He takes him to get other people's hair cut, and then finally takes him back to the shop and cuts his hair. It's smooth, boy. That's a sharp cut.
It's a nice
he had to go through so much to get it.
It's a 30, 45-minute episode.
Right. And
he's stealing stuff on the truck.
Right. Stealing wood out of a construction site. Just all these what are you? And once again, it's such a black show.
It is.
And it's like peak blackness. It's like
it is.
So I always love when someone can distill down blackness like that. So it's it's not like, I could explain some aspects of blackness, or when it comes up, I'm like, oh, hey, that was a really black experience.
Yeah.
But when you can distill it and then disseminate it like that, give it to the world, and we look at it and we go, oh man,
I get that.
I get that on a personal
because the whole
level.
Episode, you understand how he got into what he got into.
Right.
You understand how he gets to the end of the episode to get the haircut.
Right. And he needs that haircut so bad. He's been on this hero's journey for this haircut. He finally gets it.
Right. And I mean, on the outside looking in, you're like, why would anyone do this? It's so unprofessional. This doesn't make any sense.
But we all know that person who's so good at haircutting, so good at their job that you're like, yeah, I rocks with you.
No, I'll go. I
mean, I don't want to rock with you after today. Don't call me no more.
Don't call me no more.
But man,
I'll go. I mean, because it always starts out with a simple, I'll go up the street with you for 15 minutes.
Right.
Quick.
Right.
Right quick.
Right.
It's never right quick.
It's never right quick.
It's never right quick.
It's never right quick.
It's a great episode.
It's a great episode.
It's a great episode.
And a great thread. If you look it up on Twitter, look for the show notes. It'll be in the show notes. The thread will be on Twitter.
It's an awesome thread.
And there are currently 1,200 replies. Some of those are the junk, hey, this is funny replies, but many of them are stories that are just going to blow your mind, and they're hilarious.
They're great.
Also, in speaking of bad haircuts, we watched, what was that, Project Power?
We did. We watched Project Power last night.
I want to say, Jamie Foxx is an amazing actor, movie star. So even though he's in a Netflix movie, him and Joseph Gordon-Levitt are giving a movie star level. We think we're in the best movie performance.
I am a big fan.
They got a lot of character, a lot of swag.
Yep.
But Jamie Foxx's haircut, his lineup in that movie was trash.
It was a bowl cut.
It was so sad.
It was
Jamie Foxx
kitchen bowl cut.
Why did they not let your barber on set? Who did he make mad? Who did you go to in New Orleans?
No,
because the movie was shot in New Orleans. Who did you go to in New Orleans? And she was like, "Go ahead, line me up. I can't get my guy."
He didn't get lined up. That was okay.
He got a bowl cut. And maybe because he was playing a military man.
Yes.
But I don't know. I cannot understand, because in the Black community, the lineup is a very important part of how you present yourself.
It's the haircut.
There's a reason I don't cut my own hair. Is because I cannot line myself up appropriately. It needs to be crispy. It needs to be clean. As I said before, it needs to be an artisan cut. It needs to have a sense of artistry in the swoop, in the line.
Something that
as you trim the beard, like it needs. You see it when you see it.
Yeah.
There's a difference between when I just clean myself up versus when I get an edge up.
Yeah.
And Jamie Foxx let that man put him on the movies.
It was
with a horrendous lineup.
It was for the movie.
It was a part of the character.
It was part of the character.
The character of the Major will be played by Jamie Foxx.
His name is the Major.
With a horrible haircut.
The Major.
The Major.
And I thought it was a great movie.
It was fun. I loved it. So here's the thing. I was like taking notes
throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, I was taking notes because I was like, at first I was like, yeah, I'm going to really like do a deep dive in this. And then I was like, no, I'm just having a good time.
Yeah.
Screw it. I'm going to just watch this movie.
Just have fun, George.
There's a lot you could really rip apart in it. Like, oh, that's a coincidence. And that, yeah. Why did that happen? And so many cliches. There's nothing brand new in it, but it was still fun.
It was still a good movie.
And it's as close as Jamie Foxx is going to get to play Batman. He was totally doing the Batman through it. Even so much of the movie's like, we're Batman and Robin. The little girl who's in it, name is Robin.
Who's in it? Her name is Robin.
Which I'm like, oh, really, writer? You're just going to call her Robin and then have her say, we're Batman and Robin. And I'm like, okay, that's a little on the nose, like genuinely
I like it.
On the nose. And technically, Joseph Gordon-Levitt is playing Superman in it. So
I love Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
She's a fan.
I'm
always been a fan.
Always been a fan of everything that he's been in.
He's been in a lot of good things.
He's been in some
not so good things, but she doesn't remember those.
It doesn't matter.
She wasn't a fan of Third Rock from the Sun, even though I was a big fan of it, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt was in it as a television.
Third Rock from the Sun was funny.
You didn't like it as much as I liked it.
I didn't.
She doesn't love things that I love.
That's not true. I don't love them when you love them.
Right. Oh, it's funny. So she's allowed to love them after I've gotten over them.
The last season of Third Rock from the Sun was great.
It was a good show. It's a little silly, but I mean, come on. It was comedy TV.
Yeah.
Featuring a young Joseph Gordon-Levitt with very long hair for no reason.
Very young Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He was also in the movie, one of my favorites. The name escapes me now.
Oh, no. With Inception?
Inception.
Yeah, he was in Inception.
Yeah.
He was also in my favorite movie of his is actually Brick, which is him in a high school.
I like
being a detective in a high school, and it follows all the tropes of high school.
And the girl dies, and
It follows all the tropes of a high school movie and a detective noir film, and it merges it together in this very clean. Also, that movie is by the guy who did Knives Out.
Yeah.
And he also did the Star Wars movie that no one likes, The Last Jedi. Okay. Rian Johnson, who did The Last Jedi and has been disliked whole cloth by the community of nerds. And he also did Knives Out, which I loved, which was also a bit of a genre, kind of Agatha Christie-esque movie. And I've seen some really good reviews of that movie. And loved it when I saw it. Was watching it on the Fire Stick. The Hallspace podcast does not condone illegally pirating movies. Yar, mateys, but I'm a pirate. So was watching it on the Fire Stick. It conked out. I had to go buy it anyway, just because I needed to see how it ended.
Were you trying to watch it illegally?
No, the Hallspace podcast does not condone illegally pirating movies. Yar, mateys. And was so frustrated with the experience on the Fire Stick that I had to go buy the movie anyway on Amazon. So I now own it because I was in love with it all the way through. Have not watched it a second time because that night I ended up watching it like 3 times just because of the mistakes, the issues with the Fire Stick.
And you're done.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, big fan of Knives Out too. And Ryan Johnson's
Captain
career.
America in it.
Yeah. It's got a lot of people in it. It's a ton of actors.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
And they're doing some great stuff in it. And I highly recommend it if you want a mystery movie.
Yep.
Mystery genre. It's funny. She's in the true crime podcast, but I've always been a big mystery fan. I read a lot of mystery novels. That's usually the genre I read. Mm-hmm. So a lot of James Ellroy, Walter Mosley.
Your favorite authors,
yeah, favorite authors: James Ellroy, Walter Mosley, Elmore Leonard. And if we're talking about me as a writer, that's my writing style, is figuring out how to merge those 3 crazy people into one narrative, which is probably why I have not finished anything. Anyway, so we're rounding the bend on the episode. We've come around on 30 minutes.
There we go.
So we got an hour episode. And we're trying to really get it down so that it's not going over an hour.
We are absolutely trying, you guys.
I noticed so many people have podcasts that are under an hour, and we're always like minute and 6 minutes, hour and 6 minutes, hour and 7 minutes, hour and 15 minutes.
We got to reel it in, man.
Right. We're not, I mean, come on. And some of this has got to be filler, right?
Yeah.
Right. So thank you so much for sitting at our table for another one of our internet dinner party conversations. I hope we've amused you. Shout out to the people who listen regularly. And like we said, drop us a line. Let us know that you're listening. We always appreciate it. Mm-hmm. Like, share, and subscribe.
And you know what the music means.
You know what the music means.
I say good day, sir.
I say good day. The Hallspace podcast is brought to you by Hall Productions, LLC. Show notes and credits can be found at our webpage, thehallspacepodcast.wordpress.com. Any questions, comments, or concerns can be sent to us at thehallspacepodcast@gmail.com. The show is written by Daggerpin Davis. Music is curated by DJ Cabal. The show is produced by Chuck Jones and recorded at Slash and Trash Studios. If you like what you hear and you want to hear more, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you all have a good week. The Hallspace podcast would like to apologize for any references, jokes, or aside that may not have made sense. Making sense is not the explicit purpose of this podcast. Those looking for sense should look elsewhere. The Hallspace podcast may have significant side effects, including laughing out loud, nodding in agreement, sarcastic chuckles, irreverent ideas, and confirmation bias. Should these side effects cause concern, you should speak with a mental health professional. The Hallspace podcast is not meant to be mental, medical, physical, or legal advice, and was never intended to be listened to by anyone, anywhere. Please use discretion when administering. The Hallspace podcast would like to apologize for the last 5 minutes of that episode that might have been recorded in auto-tune. House Hall. We rise brilliantly.